Captain Jack thought the sea turtle's bit was a stretch, but he liked the direction. He could vouch for the food. After the ship he'd been on sank, he was rescued by the locals and treated to wonderful meals. For a moment, he forgot the challenges of sailing to Anegada and thought of the fabulous fish prepared in the local manner. The idea of a fish lunch on the beach with wine appealed to these Wagnerian maidens of the British Isles. It was settled. A convoy of ships would sail to the low-lying island for a day of lunch and photographs. As Captain Jack watched, he felt the reassuring hand of Ro on his, and the idea that she was someone to be trusted with more than his ship entered his mind. Meanwhile, a 4-footed friend's bladder was exploding, and she let both of them know with a solitary bark. Captain Jack turned to Sea Dog and apologised. He sprang toward the dinghy, accompanied by Sea Dog and Ro. "I'll see you on board the Matilda momentarily. They can't do this without me." The last they saw of the Valkyries was of them motoring back to their boat to prepare for the evening's fun. It was obvious they needed to talk. Sea Dog's call to nature was the perfect excuse to be alone. The minute they touched shore, she was off to mark as many spots on the beach as a full bladder could support. They both tried to speak at once and broke into laughter. He liked her laugh. She began. "We really do not know much about each other." That was true. He replied, "Well, we both know which of us is the better sailor." Their laughter disturbed Sea Dog's investigations, and she came back to give Ro a good cuddle. When the dog returned to her territorial markings, he asked the obvious question. "Why on earth are you flirting with me?" She said, "Isn't the answer obvious?" He knew he was dense about such things, but still. "You like my suave and debonair ways, do you?" he asked. She giggled. "Oh my, yes. You quite swept me off my feet that first meeting on the dock at White Beach." Ouch. "Well, then it must be the ship. Chicks dig the dick, you know." Her laugh disturbed Sea Dog again, but this time the dog stayed put. "Well, she is a handful," Ro said. This time it was his turn to laugh. He finally caught on. They were having fun. They were enjoying each other's company. They were friends. They could talk in words and body language. Whether they would become more than friends was an open question. But at this moment, friendship was the powerful opiate she gave him, and that was enough. For now, until the probation paperwork clears. "Will I see you very often then?" he asked. Her answer intrigued him. "As often as you want." Okay, he could play. "Will I see you next week?" "Oh my goodness, yes!" "Where will I see you?" "Anywhere you want to see me." He felt like a character in a Dr. Seuss children's book, being punished by being allowed to order anything on the menu, but not allowed to eat. He tried another tack. "When do you return to England?" "I am not certain." "When do your friends return to England?" "In 3 days." "Do they expect you to return with them?" "Yes." Suddenly it dawned on him that she, like him, was living in the twilight too. She had a way of turning her head to the side, smiling, and giving him a squinty sideways glance as she answered each question. It was driving him crazy. Okay, you have answered every question I have asked. Let's be practical for a moment, shall we? We had better. It is getting close to happy hour, and my 3 friends will wonder what happened to me. Would you like to hang out on the dick for a while? No strings, honest. Maybe I will. We will see. But you are on probation, you know. I know. But what exactly is my probation? It is a secret, and I will tell you when it has ended. You are better at living in the twilight than I am, he admitted. Her reply was inscrutable. No, you are the professional. I am this student. Say, is there a known time limit on my probation? Yes, thereof, was the only reply, and with a smile and the wave of an imperious arm, she declared question time officially at an end. Sea Dog was already in the dinghy, impatient for dinner. Before Ro leapt to the stern of the catamaran, she put her arms around him and gave him a hug. Her last words were, "Your probation is going quite well, actually. I checked off several items today." He smiled the smile of the ignorant. Oh, he has no idea there's a spreadsheet with tabs on him. Back at the dick, the 4 were desperate to get to happy hour. They had already laid out a fresh pair of shorts and a pressed shirt for him. One handed him his towel, another started the shower, another gave him soap, and the last, along with Sea Dog, pushed him into the head. If there had been room, they probably would have helped him shower. He shot them a look and closed the door. He shaved his beard. He didn't know why, but it made sense. Again he thought, "Por qué? Demanda. Por qué?" He did not shave his upper lip. He had worn a moustache all his life, ever since the hair on his upper lip matured past the streaky stage. Facial hair had nostalgia. The shower was short and sweet. His hair was still wet when the 4, still touching his face with their hands and giggling, pushed him into the dinghy for the short ride to the dock. Everyone said goodbye to Sea Dog, and she went down to his cabin to sleep on his bed. She wasn't supposed to, but tonight she was head of ship's security. Sort of. Ship was in agony at the thought of that dog having any freedom to roam around on board. He always enjoyed the ride into the dock at Pussers. The island was ablaze with bougainvillea, cacti and flowers. The water was a beautiful azure that framed the small island with its white buildings and red tile roofs. He often questioned the nature of his existence, but he never questioned the existence of nature's beauty when moored at Marina Quay. Today, he had questions of a more feminine focus. This Celtic lady owned him, ship, dog, and sea chest. Plus, he was on secret probation. And probation is something one endures after committing a crime. What was his crime? Of course, probation also applies to a novice on a job. Those probations last 3 to 6 months or more. Would she stay that long? Both were new to this job. Shouldn't both be on probation? Aha! She was also on probation, at least in his mind. Would she accept probation as willingly as he had? Good question. Would he actually tell her? Another question. The chatter of the 4 brought him out of his reverie. He tied up the dinghy and helped them onto the dock. The small group entered Pussers. Later, loaded down with replenished wardrobes from Pussers, the 4 were escorted by Cap'n Jack up the garden path to the bar for a 2-hour musical tour led by Michael Bean. In the small open-air bar, sitting high on a perch beneath a bare-breasted Lady of the Sea masthead, was their song leader for the evening. The four sat down among the boys and immediately began practicing their English. Cap'n Jack had not spotted Row and the Valkyries yet. He found a spot near the musical leader, sat down in one chair and saved another, just in case Row felt like gracing him with her presence. Soon the bar filled to overflowing. He was watching the young people's fun when that hand found its way to his shoulder. She was always doing that. And that smile, again. My, your probation is going very well indeed. She stroked his smoothly shaven face. I have more boxes to check off on your probation list. He replied, Look, if I am on probation, aren't you too? She gave mock surprise. Oh dear no, one of us has to have the list. He gave her an incredulous look. List? Oh yes, the list. I believe all successful relationships have a keeper of the lists. I take it you have the DNA that qualifies you as the keeper. Darling, isn't that obvious? With logic like that, he was at a loss to argue. She continued, Besides, all successful relationships are built on lists. He pointed out, I thought all successful relationships were built on trust. Her response was typical and, in her logic, sensible. That is just my point. You can trust the list and the keeper. If someone tells you that, run. Or marry them. Same level of risk. He looked her up and down. He tried to be subtle, but failed. She was wearing a turquoise necklace, a simple white low-cut cotton dress ending above the knees, and white sandals tied at the ankle. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Self-conscious under his gaze, she sat down, gave him a hug, and kissed him lightly on the lips. Lavender and peaches again. She was extraordinarily playful, like a sea otter, except he sometimes felt like the shellfish dinner. It served him right that he was at the low point of his social game. He was more like a virgin than when he had been a virgin. 5 years of monkish living had not prepared him for a woman like Row. Liberated women scared him. This one scared him like no other. But something compelled him to be close to her. His only comment was, I think I like you better in butt floss. She gave him an elbow in the side as she laughed. At some point in the next 2 hours, there was a conch-blowing contest, bawdy songs, rum contests, and a conga line. There was a lot of dancing. The hit of the happy hour were the four and the boys. They couldn't be any cuter. Were they truly the children of Japanese gangsters? He didn't dwell on it. Cap'n Jack, with maximum self-consciousness, danced with Row. She smelled of sandalwood soap, and she even let him lead, badly. Do you mind me stepping on your feet? He asked. She said, No, I don't, you silly sausage, but payback is going to be hell. She was very close to his ear when she added, By the way, I was talking to the girls just a moment ago, and they want to go back to the cruise ship with those boys for dinner. I told them I would ask you if it was permissible. What do you think? His answer? Are you crazy? Instead of the MREs and RC Cola. She laughed so hard she had to sit down. He continued, I'll have a tough time explaining it to Sea Dog, but all right. The four watched intently. When both he and Row gave the all clear sign, they broke into smiles. Cap'n Jack pointed at his watch and held out his hands to ask what time they'd return. Each held up a different number of fingers. Then they argued among themselves. Okay, sometime after midnight. He knew better than to pin them down. Also, this way, they'd have to find their own way back to the Dick. He inquired of the boys whether there was transportation available at that hour. All nodded yes. Everything was too cozy. He knew something bad was bound to happen. So he wrote down the number of the slobber phone and gave it to them, just in case. They gave him the universal, "Don't worry" look daughters give their fathers. With that reassurance, he knew he was in for a sleepless night. He looked at Ro and said, "Well, I had best be getting back to the Dick. Long day tomorrow." She replied, "So soon? What is the hurry? Am I such bad company?" There she was, doing that thing again. He reminded her, "Well, you do have a dinner engagement with your friends." Somewhat dreamily, she remembered, "Oh, yes, but can I come by for a nightcap later on?" "Sure, but don't make it too late. Sea Dog needs her beauty sleep. And you better be sober. I don't want to have to throw another inebriated woman into the harbour." "Oh, so you have had drunken wenches in your cockpit before?" "Absolutely. But Sea Dog and I are calm in a crisis. We can spot pirate wenches from far off, especially the drunken kind." She purred. "Well, I guess I will have to don my pirate eye patch and bring a casket of rum." He stifled a laugh. "And will ye be a-wearing that pirate's get-up ye had on today, matey?" She smiled, elbowed him in the ribs, and for the moment they went their separate ways. Of course, Sea Dog was anxious to go ashore for her nightly sneak, sniff and mark episode. She snuck around looking for some scent or another. She never found anything to chase, but every place she sniffed, she marked. This nightly event lasted 30 minutes. They both tired of it and eventually motored back to the Dick. Tonight was different. Usually there were passengers to cuddle and tuck into bed. Sea Dog looked at Cap'n Jack with a "Where are they?" look. He pointed toward the cruise ship and said, "Boys?" She understood and curled up on the cockpit bench. With a freshly brewed cup of coffee, he stared at the lights in the bay and watched planes take off from the airport adjacent to Trellis Bay. He had a sense of excitement and anticipation for the future he hadn't felt in years. He tried to stifle it. "Best not get excited, old boy. There may not be any there." He went into one of the cabinets in his room and pulled out a Vivaldi CD, a relic of his former life. At one time, he'd loved classical music. For some reason, this evening, he needed the 4 seasons. He skipped to the spring track and settled back for a relaxing night with a pleasant nightcap. He fell asleep on one of the benches next to Sea Dog, listening to the winter track. For once, the ship was still, and if one listened closely, the sound of a sad and silent crying for the long ago could be heard amid the Baroque music. He felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Wake up, ye swabs! You've been boarded by pirates!" He certainly had. Before his eyes focused, he heard the Valkyries cooing and clucking over Sea Dog. That mutt got a lot of attention. "Isn't she a doll? She is so sweet. Where did you find her?" He thought, questions, questions, questions. Why so many questions? Somewhat irritated, he said, "She washed up on a life preserver in the middle of the channel." then softened. No, just kidding. She adopted me. He shifted into polite mode. How was dinner? Oh, it was fine. We drank and ate a bit too much for our own good. Can I offer you ladies anything? He hoped they'd go away and leave Roe. Oh, you are too kind, but we have a long day of sailing tomorrow, thanks to you, and we had better be off to the Mathilde, the head Valkyrie said. He could have leapt for joy, but Roe had that "I'd better go too" look in her eyes. He sensed dinner conversation had not been kind to the Dick and Cap'n Jack. Bummer. Oh well, Rome in a day and all that rot. You ladies have a nice evening, and we will see you in the Channel at 9 a.m, he said. Roe wore a rather sheepish look as they motored away. Cap'n Jack thought to himself that the last 24 hours had contained more emotional twists and turns than the worst carnival ride he could remember. Tomorrow might be another day. No, remember, today is all. The last 10 minutes had reinforced that notion. He shuffled off to bed, hoping the four were having a good time and could get back safely by themselves. Darling, let me tell you what happened the morning after the Marina Cay fiasco, because this one takes the cake, licks the frosting, and throws the plate overboard. The Mathilde? Gone. Vanished. Vaporized. Poof. Not even a pity wave. And our Celtic lady, Miss Lavender and Peaches herself? No sign of her. Not on the beach, not on the dock, not even a stray footprint in the sand, like in some dramatic BBC mystery. But Jack, poor romantically concussed Jack, finds a little note on the wheel. A posh British boarding school handwriting situation. You can practically smell the Latin homework. The note says, get this, I am so confused. Best wishes. Sorry, Rowena. Not. Then a PS. We are waiting for you at Anegada. This is your rite of passage, not mine, matey. Honey, I have seen breakup notes, pity notes, ransom notes. I have never seen a note that basically says, I'm confused, I'm sorry, and also I'm absolutely not sorry. Now come risk your life on a reef to find me. It's a scavenger hunt written by a gorgeous sociopath. Now Sea Dog? That dog is in mourning. This mutt is lying on the deck like Elizabeth Taylor after a divorce. She adored Roe, absolutely smitten. And Jack tries to comfort her. Hey, Muttley, it ain't over. Oh, please. He's comforting the dog because he needs to hear it. Meanwhile, the four girls, the Yakuza princesses, have stumbled back onto the boat after their night of partying, said nothing, and fallen into bed like exhausted crime syndicate angels. Smart girls. Don't speak to the captain until coffee happens. Jack lets them sleep. Why? Because he is filled with anxiety and bravado, a terrible cocktail even by Caribbean standards. He is going to Anegada, and even Sea Dog gives him a look like, you sure about this, genius? He helps her into her deck shoes, sunglasses, and that little sun visor. I swear this dog is dressed like she's going to brunch, and tells her, you keep an eye out for coral reefs. Oh, honey, if the dog is navigating, you're already dead. Then Jack starts the engine, lets it hum, goes forward, pops the mooring line, and rushes back to the wheel like he's in an action movie. Meanwhile, Sea Dog is lying on her custom flotation device labelled First Mate, which is frankly the most competent crew on this ship. Now the day looks good. Too good. Calm sea, sunny sky, perfect weather. This alone is suspicious. He starts thinking maybe the ship is actually listening to him today. Why? because he found a copy of Bizet's Carmen in a dusty box and decided to play it for her. This man thinks sailing is a Broadway show and the boat responds to the soundtrack. But the ship? The Dick suddenly becomes Carmen herself. Lusty, dramatic, piratical, temperamental, and with absolutely no tolerance for bad taste. And when the music plays, she's in heaven. She forgives him, a little. She still hates the dog, the 4 teenagers, and the RC Cola, but for a moment she's seduced. Honestly, if Jack had sprinkled rose petals on the deck, the boat would have tried to marry him. So, the Dick backs out of Marina Cay, waves goodbye to Trellis Bay, and heads east into the Sir Francis Drake Channel. For now, he's on the engine. Soon he'll swing north between Scrub Island and the Dogs. And this is where Jack gets emotional, because the last time he sailed here, let's just say, no witnesses, no survivors, trauma. But yesterday he watched Rose sail flawlessly, tack, trim, tack, explain, smile, repeat. So today he's going to put her theories into practice. Bless his heart. Too bad she's not here to grade him. She would have given him a C- and a kiss on the forehead. He keeps wondering, why did she stay? Why did she leave? Classic Jack, overthinking when he should be steering. He switches to a northerly heading, cuts the engine, unfurls the sails, winches them into place, checks the telltales, and boom! The Dick leans like a drunk on bar stools.